Hello everyone, welcome to my channel TechieTaught. So today we'll discuss about the monitoring, analytics, and data visualization tools. So first we'll discuss about Spring Boot Actuator. So Spring Boot Actuator is mainly used to expose operational informations like health and other metrics, information about your application, and dumps like thread dump, your heap memory dump, and various environment specific properties. All these production ready informations like Actuator, Spring Actuator provides like out of the box. So people use Spring Actuator, you don't need to implement all such endpoints. So only thing you have to do is you have to configure, you have to integrate this Spring Boot Actuator into your application. So next part we'll discuss about Prometheus. So Prometheus is again another monitoring and analytics as well as data visualization tool. And this Prometheus, what it will do, it used to pull the metrics information from Actuator, and then it will store the metrics information in a time series database, and then it will visualize in its Prometheus UI. And the next part is the major components. So in the Prometheus, we can find like 4 major components. One is the data scraper. So data scraper is also known as a data retriever. So the main job is pull the metrics information from various systems or various applications, services, servers. And in this case, you can give an example of Spring Actuator, Spring Boot Actuator, which actually this Prometheus used to pull that metrics information from this actuator. So then after pulling the metrics information, the Prometheus has to store it. So either Prometheus can store in a memory or in a hard disk or secondary drive or in a database somewhere, right? So that's why the Prometheus is also has its inbuilt time series database. So it used to store that metrics information in a key value pair with timestamp. So that's why it is called time series database. And it also has a UI where it will show textual, all these metrics information in either a textual way or in a graphical way. And then it also has a integration. It also has capability to send notification email to the stakeholders. Okay, so if certain endpoints went down or certain unhealthy activities happened in your application or certain system went down, okay, or stops working or some failure scenarios, it will send email notification to the respective stakeholders. And then we will discuss about the architecture. So in the architecture, you can say the center part is the Prometheus server, and it has 3 major components. One is the data scraper or data retriever. The middle one is the TSDB, nothing called as time series database. And the third one is HTTP server, means it has certain HTTP endpoints. And this data scraper is to pull the metrics from your Spring Actuators, different servers or jobs or services, whatever you have, and wherever you have this integration or the configuration of this Prometheus. So in this example, it will pull the metrics information from Spring Actuators. So once it will pull the metrics information, it will store that metrics information into the time series database. And then it will, through this endpoint or over this HTTP endpoints, it will like provide information to our graphical user interfaces or graphical user visualization tools like Grafana or Prometheus UI, and so many other third-party tools as well available. And it also send notification to the alert manager, so to send email notification to the stakeholders. So that is the major like components of this Prometheus. And then the micrometers, because in this example, we will also use this micrometer library. So you can say this micrometer is a dimensional fast metrics collection facet, which facilitate or which provides certain measuring instruments like time to measure our application, count to measure our application, gauge to measure our application. So for example, how much time one method is taking to execute, or how much time one endpoint is taking to process our request and send the response back. So that is here the time is the measuring instrument. So that is provided by micrometer. Then count how many times a particular user is hitting a particular endpoint or executing a particular functionalities. So it will show that kind of metrics. So gauge is another metrics which will actually give certain metrics information about our application. So for example, you are measuring the length of the one object using a meter or certain scales, right? So here gauge also like that. You can compare with the meter or so that kind of measuring instruments, but it's specific to your application. So I will cover on this time, count, or gauge on a separate video. So here I will just focus on the micrometer, but here I will just use micrometer because micrometer provides a registry. So through that we can integrate easily various time series databases or monitoring systems. So from this micrometer provides out-of-box registry functionality for each time series database like Prometheus or InfluxDB, Graphite, like that. So I will show you in the code so how we'll use micrometer to integrate Prometheus into our application. And you can go through the reference for more details. And this is the Grafana. So Grafana, as you know, is a very popular metrics, analytics, as well as data visualization tool. So with the main functionality of this Grafana is to pull the data from various time series databases, and then it will visualize those data in a more better graphical way. So in the figure, you can see how nicely it represents the metrics in a graphical way. So this is all about very high level definition about all this monitoring, analytics, as well as the data visualization tool. Let's get our hands dirty. So we can develop the examples first, and it's a Spring Boot actuator along with Prometheus and the micrometer. Okay. So first we have to come to the start spring.io, and you have to choose Maven, Java 2.7, and then you have to create and you have to say Spring Actuator Prometheus Demo. And we'll use 11. Okay, so we have to choose, definitely we'll use Spring Web, and then we'll use DevTools, and then we'll use ops. You have type ops, then you have to choose Spring Boot Actuator, and then we have to use Prometheus. Okay, and then since in our Spring Boot Actuator program we have used our database specific implementation, so we also need MongoDB. Okay, I think pretty much we have all these dependencies. Then let's generate. Okay, so you can see I have imported my Spring Actuator Prometheus demo into my Eclipse, and you can see I have the build is success, so everything all good. And quickly we can check what we have done. So we have just created one order process controller, and it's a REST controller, and we have few endpoints. So we have post endpoint to create the order, and another post endpoint to create a bulk order. Okay, and then another get endpoint to fetch all the order, okay, from the DB. And there is another get endpoint. By passing the order ID, we can fetch the order. So there is two get endpoints and two post endpoints. Okay, and we have created order. So order is a model which has few attributes. So basically, when you create order, so it will ask for order ID, what is the product name, quantity, price, and the shipping address. Okay, and then we can create either a single order or we can create a bulk order. And then we are using the services. So you can see we are using this is the service, and it has the implementation in this class. And we are using this MongoDB repository to actually create the order and fetch the order, all the details. So I am not covering in details because this is the part of Spring Actuator code. So for this, I will say before coming to this video, please go to my previous video. So here, so this is my video, Spring Boot Actuator, Swagger, and Postman. So you can see how I have created the Spring Boot Actuator program. So exactly the same program here. Okay, and here the additional thing is we will integrate Prometheus, and this actuator it will generate the metrics, and then Prometheus will pull the metrics and display the data in a graphical way. So that is our objective. And then we are using this properties file. You can see we are basically enabling the endpoints. We are saying enable this health endpoints. So it will show all these health matrices. And I am also enabling the info because Actuator has a info endpoint. So you have to configure these details to show your application specific information in a Actuator endpoints. Then everything I have covered in that video. So please watch that video. And then in application YML file, you can see this is the most important part is this one. So here I have just enabled all these actuator endpoints. So I'm using star. So it will enable, because by default in Spring Boot 2.5 onwards, only health metrics or health endpoint is enabled. All these actuator endpoints are by default disabled. So you can enable it by like putting this configuration in your either YML file or properties file. So this is management server, and then endpoints, web, exposure, include, and then you have to put star. Okay, and then I'm using this management server port. So by default, Actuator will run in 8080, and I thought let's segregate each like application, so that my Spring Boot application or Spring Boot endpoint, whatever I have written, these are the I have written the customized one should run on 8088. That's why I have override the port. So default port is 8080, but now it is 8088. This is for my Spring Boot endpoint, and for Actuator I am using 9001. Okay, so that is the details about the Spring Boot Actuator program. Okay, now we'll see how to integrate Prometheus. So the first step is you need to see whether you have this Prometheus dependency or not. So this registry, Micrometer registry Prometheus, is provided by your Micrometer library. So you have to add this dependency. This is the first point. And then you have to update your form or do the map and build. So it will generate all this, or it will download all these libraries into your local system. So once that is done, what you need to do, so you need to create one Prometheus configuration file. Okay, so for that, okay, so I have created this Prometheus YML file here. Okay, so this is the configuration you need to add. So in this Prometheus YML, what you need to add is your global configuration. So this is the sample Prometheus configuration. This is the global. It has few sections. This is the global section. And then you have your scrap configuration file. So in this global, what you need to mention is your scrap interval. So scrap I have already discussed. So your Prometheus has three components. One is the data scrap. The second one is the time series database, and the third one is the HTTP server, or which provides the HTTP endpoints to the outside world or the third party, like your alert manager to generate the notification or email, and the other party is data visualization tools like Grafana. So that is the interval. So each 5 seconds, right, it will pull the data, pull the metrics from various applications or systems, and then it will generate the analytics, basically evaluation interval. So you need to set as per your requirement. I just set as a 5 second. So you can say the default, you can see here the default is 1 minute. Okay, if you want set anything, so default is 1 minute. Okay, it will comment it here, right? So default will be 1 minute, and then you have your scrap configuration file. So now just forget about this part. I'll talk a bit later. So for this, I will say now. So you need basically one scrap configuration here. Okay. So what you need to provide, you need to provide a job name. So since we are using Actuator along with the Prometheus, so I've just given Actuator Prometheus scrap, any name you can give. Then your metrics path. So to get this Prometheus, right? So Prometheus you can access through this /actuator. So you can provide /actuator/Prometheus. Okay. And then you can provide your scrap interval, which is again, I put it the same 5 seconds. So after each 5 seconds, it will pull the metrics information. And then the static config in this, under the static config, you have to provide your target. So which one is the target? So since our actuator is running on 9001, which I have configured here, you can see your management server port is 9001. So that means your actuator or the Prometheus is running on 9001. Okay. So here you can say your target is localhost 9001. Like basically this actuator and Prometheus metrics you can access by using this server colon port number. Okay. So then you can just, I'll show you by starting the application. If you start your application, okay. So before that, since we are using our MongoDB, right? So we are doing some CRUD operation here. You can see we are doing certain CRUD operations. We have this repository, so we need to start our database. Here I'm using MongoDB because you can clearly see in this application YML, I have a MongoDB configuration. Okay, so let's go to command prompt and then start your MongoDB. So I will assume that you have already set up your MongoDB in your local. Okay, otherwise you can watch my previous video, which I have already shown to you. So sorry, it's not MongoDB, MongoD. And then it will start your Mongo database. So once your Mongo database is up and running, you can start your application. So you can see 8088, the Tomcat is starting with 8088. So all my Spring Boot endpoints, it will run on 8088. And then the actuator endpoints will run on 9001. Okay. And this is my actuator path. So I need to access this 9001/actuator. So let's see what is happening. So this is my postman to like test my endpoints. So I'll come directly here. So localhost and 9001/actuator, right? So if we do this, if we can test like this, so it will generate all these endpoints. Basically, it exposes bean, kids, and health, info, all this, right? You can see 13 or 16 endpoints Actuator provides, and thread dump, heap dump, other metrics. Okay, so if you hit this metrics, then you will get even more details. See, you can like get your application ready time or disk, how much memory is free, total used, or whatever. It's a long list. You can get all these metrics out of the box. Okay, and even you can check your health. This is the custom, and you can say group is custom, and then you have to type custom, so you will get all the details here, right? And you can also see in the actuator, right? So there should be some Prometheus here. Maybe go down. So you can see this, there is a Prometheus, and this Prometheus/actuator/Prometheus is running on 901. There is a local host 901, and it is a HTTP based endpoint. And similarly, you are also configuring here. So under Prometheus, you are saying this is the path of my Prometheus, okay, which will generate the metrics. And to access this, use this localhost 901. Okay, and if you use this Actuator/Prometheus, then you will get all these metrics. Okay, so basically it provides all this like JVM related and your application other related informations. Plenty of metrics it will provide. So you can test all these metrics one by one. Okay, everything it will provide your heap, thread, and garbage collection, and so much other things. Okay, so then what we need to do now, so I have just shown you how your actuator is currently working, and it is now showing your Prometheus endpoint as well, and that we have to configure in our Prometheus configuration file. Okay, along with this data pull frequency. That's it. And then what else? So we need to now install Prometheus server in our local. Okay, so to do that, you have to follow this. So Prometheus, right? To install the Prometheus, we need to install first the Docker Hub, because we'll use the image. The Docker Hub provides the Prometheus image, and so we can use that Docker images, and we can run the Prometheus server on Docker, and then we can store all the metrics in the Prometheus, and then we can see the metrics as well. So in that case, right, so the first step is to install your Docker. So what you need to do is you have to go and just search for this. Okay, basically you have to search like Docker installation for Windows or Docker installation for Mac, depending upon your system. So then you will get this. So I'm using Windows, so you will get Docker download for Windows. So you have to download this. So use this documentation. So I'll provide you this. So once you will install this WSL in your system after this Docker Hub, okay, so then it will show you like all these Linux operating systems like Ubuntu or Kali or Alpine something. So depends upon your Windows version, you can install your Linux operating system. So once Docker is installed, your WSL is installed, and your Linux is installed, so you are good to go. Okay, and you can also follow your command line to set up your Docker. Otherwise, I will also cover in separate video how to like install and set up Docker in your system in details. But in this video, I am just excluding it. And then when you will do this setup, right, this Docker setup, then while we will run this Docker run command to basically deploy your images in Docker, you will sometimes get these permission denied issues. So if you get these, then there is a nice documentation or solutions. You can follow these, like use sudo and then add your user to this user to the Docker, and then you can run directly. So this part I will cover in separate video as well, but for your information, if you try to install Docker, then I will also share this in description. You can just go through it and let me know if you face any challenges. Even this Stack Overflow, it has a few more solutions regarding that, because I have faced a couple of issues regarding this permission denied, and then I found the solution here, so I'll share with you. So these are the pretty much setup related to how to set up your Docker, how to set up your Linux environment, how to fix your permission related issues. So everything related to your Docker setup or Prometheus setup. Okay, so once that is done, okay, so what you need to do, you need to come to your Linux system. Okay, so since I have installed Kali, so here if you can see, I'll type now Kali. So here you can say this is a Kali Linux, and once you click on this, you will get a prompt like this. Okay, so my username is Rabin R, and you will also get something like this. Okay, so you can see this is the command you need to run in your Linux system. So you are saying Docker run, and then you have to provide your port. So port, you can say by default, I'll show you different examples, but here I will take just port 9090. So that means I'm saying run the Prometheus in my local in this port. So this is my local port. So my Prometheus local, it will run on 9090, and then on image on the Docker hub, it will, the port I map to 9090. And then what I'm saying, read my Prometheus deployment descriptor file in this path, because you can see if you go to my Eclipse and it will show here, right, properties, and then this is my path, right? So here, and under this it will go. So I am putting this Prometheus under source main resources. So I'm giving the path, complete path. So here I'm just saying go to C drive, workspace, Prometheus Demo. Okay, and then you will go to this source main whatever, right? Then read this Prometheus YML file, and then I'm saying this is the image. Okay, and create this Prometheus image, okay, based upon this configuration file. So what will happen? So when we will run this, it will run the Prometheus server on 9090 on the Docker hub, and then on our local with localhost, we'll just use this 9090. Okay, and we should be able to access the Prometheus page. So let's start this. I will also share this on the description itself. So here, go to your Docker command and then come here and paste it. It will take some time to run our Prometheus server. Okay, so it's now up and running, and then what we can do is we can go to our browser and now we'll access this 9090 port. Okay, and we'll say http // localhost : 9090 slash. So if we'll do this, you will see this is the Prometheus UI. Okay, so then what you can see here, so you can see here, so in this globe, right, it's an open matrix explorer. So if you click on this, you will get various metrics. So how this metrics came, so all these metrics it pulled from Actuator. So people can go to here and you can see there is all this information provided by this Actuator Prometheus endpoint. Okay, and then suppose for example you can choose any of these metrics. Okay, and then you can just say execute. So it has two different you can say representation technique. So you can say simple data by a table manner, it can show all these metrics. Also, if you choose the graph, it will show in a graphical way. Okay, and the same thing if you can, this is each 1 hour, so it is pulling the information every 1 hour like that. This is the information. If you can reduce the time, okay, so you can see your graphs in more like details. So these are the basically the graphs you can see. And then you can say this is one panel, you can add even multiple panel. So in this panel I want to see different metrics. For example, I will say I have to see what is the this one is total, for example. So you can see you will get this kind of metrics. Okay, similarly you can just reduce your little time. Okay, you can every 15 minutes suppose. Okay, then you will get this kind of graph. So like that you can generate multiple graphs based upon these metrics. So this is related to thread. So if you like create multiple threads running, right, you can definitely get nice graph like that. Prometheus provides all these metrics in a graphical representation. Okay, so one more thing is we can now try by adding this endpoint. So let me just Control G. Okay, so what it will do. So here I am saying my actuator Prometheus. Okay, I have just added another scrap config. You can add as many. Okay, so here I'm saying my actuator Prometheus is running on 9001 because my actuator endpoint is running on 9001, which I have already configured here. Okay, now for Prometheus, I will say this is for my Prometheus server. Okay, because here you can see I have configured this. This is my local Prometheus server and this is port, and then I'm mapping to the Docker Hub Prometheus server 9090. I want to mention this is 9091 suppose. Okay, 9091. So here I'll do this. So 9091 my local Prometheus server will run, okay, instead of 9090. So let's see what will happen. So if you add this, right, now you will able to access your Prometheus UI based upon 9091. And then what you need to do, come here and now stop your this what you can say, this Docker Prometheus server, and then you can run 1 second. So here you can, instead of 9090, do it 9091, and then you can run it one more time. Okay, So now it will come here and I will say 9090. Now it will not work because see it's not working because we have configured our local port is 9091. So you can now access the same thing, same Prometheus server on 9091. So now similarly your Prometheus server will run and then you can check anything and then go to graph, execute. So you'll get the graphs. Okay, like that you can add panels and check. So this is another scrap config, and I think you can able to relate what uh, does this port used for, and how we will configure these ports here in this Prometheus YML file. Because most of time, right, if you won't use this, then you will get confused. What is this 9090 in both the place? Which port is actually used for what purpose? Okay, so hope this video will clear like all your like the doubt, or you will feel comfortable writing your Spring Actuator Prometheus examples. And if you like the video and if you like the content, please subscribe the video and um, uh, press the bell icon for the upcoming videos to get there. So thank you so much.